Okay, welcome to this week's Journal Club. Today we will have Chuying as our host. I am Mike. I am a second year PhD student in Nao's lab here in Monash. And Lipeng.
I'm the first year PhD student in the same lab.
Yeah, I'm Chuying. I'm a third year PhD student in the same lab. So I will start with summarizing the paper. So today, we are gonna read a paper titled "An Iconic versus Working Memory Metacognition" to evaluate the richness of perception. So note that this is a register report. So I think to my memory, this is the first time we are reading a register report here. So a register report means that the researchers write the introduction and methodology first, and then send it to peer review. After it's accepted in principle, the methodology will be pre-registered, so it cannot change. And the method is settled before researchers actually collect data. And the researchers must report what they planned to analyze. This will reduce some bias towards significant results or positive results and to ensure the fairness in the publication. Okay, so I will start. Um, so this paper starts from a famous and classical study, Sperling's partial report paradigm. Participants were briefly shown more than 10 letters, a letter array. When being asked to report all of them, they could not. But when being asked to report a part of them, they could do it very well. And this is consistent with our intuitive feeling that we feel our visual experience is rich and detailed, but when being asked, we cannot report all of it. And Sperling explained that people forgot the letters very quickly. And later, this led to two opposite views. One proposes that our conscious experience is limited to what people can report, and the feeling of richness is an illusion, therefore. The other says that our conscious experience is indeed rich and detailed, but other processes such as attention and attentional bottleneck, something like that, makes it unavailable for report. And we can notice that neither views deny the existence of this brief iconic memory, which is very rich and argued by Sperling. But the point is that it's whether people are consciously aware of the content in the iconic memory, whether or not that part of information is conscious. Um, then, even if the experience is not rich, a question will be why we feel it is rich. Previous studies proposed a potential mechanism called inflation, which means we interpret the sensory information as if it were richer than it actually is. Um, One way to answer or to examine, to test between the two views is through measuring metacognition, or say practically confidence. A wide assumption is that metacognitive ability indexes our consciousness. A previous study by Vandenbroek tried to answer these questions by presenting an array of letters, but the use of spatial cues might limit the measurement of metacognition to the cued letter in particular. Therefore, the current study introduced a similar design with some modifications. Participants are shown a circular array of letters for 250 milliseconds, and they were asked to report the position of a specific letter together with a confidence rating. There is an interstimulus interval for either 250 milliseconds or 8,000 milliseconds, dividing the trails into two conditions, iconic memory or working memory. The authors also introduced a staircase design to manipulate the number of letters in the array. The idea is quite simple. After a correct response, the number of letters increases, whereas after an incorrect response, the number of letters decreases. And then after 20 or 30 trials, the number of letters in the array for this particular participant will tend to be stable. And this design can not only measure the capacity by the number of letters, but also control the accuracy to be around 50%. Then they have three research questions. The first one is to compare the metacognitive sensitivity between iconic and working memory. So following the logic of signal detection theory, they calculated a type 2 AUROC, which represents how confident participants are in making a correct response rather than incorrect response. And then they ran a paired sample t-test between the two conditions. They found that the metacognitive ability was significantly higher in the working memory condition, suggesting the information in the iconic memory is less conscious. The second question is whether there is an inflation-like mechanism at the iconic memory level. If there is, the confidence rating should be higher in the iconic memory condition. To test, they used a linear mixed effect model to control memory capacity and task performance. And they found that the confidence was actually higher in the working memory condition, which rejects the existence of an inflation mechanism. And the third question is about the memory capacity. They calculated the mean letter numbers across the trails and run a paired sample t-test as well. And the number of letters in the iconic memory condition was higher than working memory condition, suggesting a larger memory capacity, which is consistent with the previous studies. And for the discussion section, I finished the reading, but I couldn't have enough time to organize the arguments in a coherent way, sorry. And they said that their results are against the rich and detailed view. So they said their results support the opposite way. Maybe we can call it sparse view. But there are a few limitations, which eventually, I think, makes the argument between the two views inconclusive. Okay, that's it. So we can discuss more details. Yeah. Okay, so any questions or opinion, comments?
Okay, I want to know what's your opinion on using these metacognitive aspect as indexes for consciousness access. Like, I think if we agree that it is a good measurement, it's a good index, then I think their experiment have some weight. But from my perspective, the question is whether a non-forced choice version of the experiment will give the exact same kind of result. So if you, instead of showing participant a single letter and say, oh, where is it on this position, you just ask participant, okay, tell me whatever you remembers. You can tell me which letter is where. I will not going to tell you specifically which letter to recall. and we examine the richness in that way, I wonder if it would make a difference.
Yeah, I think, yeah, according to the original Sperling's argument, if we ask them to report all the letters, it takes time. So as they are reporting, they tend to forget. Then, well, so for example, when you start reporting, the first letter you report is from the iconic memory. But the iconic memory is very brief and fragile. So when you are reporting the third or fourth letter, you can only report those letters which enter the working memory, which is stable.
Right. So then you have a mixed sort of
Yeah,
performance.
and it's also consistent. I think it's consistent with our free report paradigm on natural stimuli. Yeah. If we ask them to report to describe the natural stimuli with um, a large number of words, they cannot do it. They cannot report too many words. Yeah.
Mm.
In addition to Mike's question that equate the I think this metacognitive sensitivity to consciousness, I think we need to take a step back because I feel this study define consciousness as excess consciousness rather than phenomenal consciousness. So they think, or if something can be available to cognitive process such as working memory and verbal verbal report, then they are excessively conscious on that item. So they
Yeah.
use this kind of metacognitive sensitivity, or I think we can say it is a confidence level to define the consciousness. Yeah, that's what I think about your question. Yes.
Yeah, I have I have a similar feeling. I'm not sure if that's what you were thinking. I feel they are a bit confounding or not clarify the difference between phenomenal consciousness and access consciousness in their study design.
In the introduction,
Yeah,
yes, I think your feeling is correct. But in the discussion at the last
yeah,
second paragraph, they
yeah. They
they
mentioned it in the discussion. Yes.
oh
And
yes.
so it's kind of like even though the iconic memory is so as I suppose iconic memory is conscious, and we should agree it's more like the phenomenal consciousness,
Mm,
right? But the working memory will tend to be excess consciousness. Then on comparison between that, it's not like comparison between conscious and unconscious. It can also be a comparison between phenomenal consciousness and excess consciousness.
yeah.
I think they mentioned that in the discussion section that even though the metacognitive sensitivity is lower for accounting memory, it doesn't mean people are completely unconscious of those information of that information. Yeah, I think they mentioned that in discussion section.
Right. So the blocks, you can overflow the metacognition, much like the normal cognitive process, that kind of idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mm.
yes.
Yeah. So in terms of that, I also have a question. When they say this, there's result against the richness view of consciousness, I'm wondering the original richness view is about phenomenal consciousness, right? Or
Yeah.
the mix of them?
And I think both both views, both sides are
Oh,
more about phenomenal consciousness. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Because access consciousness, mm, uh, it's I should say it's more deeply studied by cognitive functions, working memory, things like that, or attention, the role of attention, um, or higher order cognitive functions. Yeah, with I think it's more deeply studied than phenomenal consciousness. Yeah.
mm,
Mm,
But I think their finding is very interesting in the sense that almost everything well, two out of the three predictions are following what we would expect based on these background.
Mm.
But just for one reason or another, the confidence level in IM is lower than WM.
Mm.
My initial thoughts was that there must be some kind of hidden factors that's either inflating the WM confidence or deflating the IM confidence, assuming the previous research are correct, that is. What are people thinking of this?
Mm. To me, at least, what they said in the discussion section is reasonable. That
Okay.
the longer reflection time might play a role. Yeah. Mm.
Uh, I maybe I misunderstood, but I saw the longer reflection time was related to the question one regarding the higher metacognitive sensitivity in WM.
Hmm?
Am I
They
right?
said it's on page 17 and uh yeah, it's which can also be related to higher levels
Ah,
of content found in the working memory condition. So it's like you keep thinking about something and then you are getting more and more confidence in what you are thinking. Yeah.
yeah. But I was thinking it doesn't really explain why the confidence level is low in oh, I see what you mean. Ah, yeah, that makes sense. If you view it as the inflation of WM confidence.
Yeah, but to me, it might be questionable or intuitively to me. This mechanism, this explanation only works for extreme answers. So it's like when you are very confident that this is right or this is incorrect, the longer you are thinking, the more confidence you might be. But for indecisive decisions, or you are not sure what it is, then the longer you are thinking, you might get less confident. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm, but that will be related to the data distribution in more detail, which I couldn't have time to explore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Can you help me to make sense of the logic of why they predict there must be some form of inflation in IM?
Sorry, what?
um,
Mm.
Yeah, I
so
mean, yeah, why they propose this prediction, or how they predict it, how they get this prediction? Yeah, can you help me to understand their logic flow?
I was under the impression that they said, okay, it's not really influenced by attention. And we know in previous study,
Mm,
when the unattended peripheral stimuli have a higher confidence ratings, especially the incorrect ones. Um, so they're thinking that, look, maybe because iconic memory is also not affected, not also unattended, quote unquote,
mm.
they should have a higher confidence rating as well.
Okay, okay. I see, I see. Thank you. So they kind of link the attention to the confidence.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Mm, yeah, they said attention, but in their design, it's not explicitly involved, I think.
Or control the attention.
Yeah, it's more like free attention. If they are attending to something, people can freely decide which letter to attend to. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on whether you think I am is entirely insulated from attention or not.
Yeah, right. That's also true. Mm.
They just want to mention this result is the overall confidence. And because we skip the explanatory analysis, but I just take a look, it says that um, within IM condition, the participant will give more confidence to the wrong answer, but give less confidence to the correct answer. That is interesting.
Oh, they said that?
Uh,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, but there's a qualification to that. If you alter the model in some way, I think
Oh.
they mentioned that the WM and IM model is actually very similar in that respect, even though the interaction is retained.
Mm.
Hmm. Okay, so that means probably uh, no difference between correct and incorrect answers, actually.
No significant difference between IM and WM condition.
Ah, okay. Uh, uh, I see, I see. It's Is there a figure for this so I can take a look? Figure three. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I see. Yeah. Mm, so, any other comments or questions?
I,
Um, yes, please.
no, you go first. You go.
I just want to talk about because they say their result is in line with the high order theory, and I'm wondering how high order theory can explain such kind of finding because I haven't have time to really carefully think about that.
Mm, yeah, me neither. I didn't have time to deeply think about this higher order theory thing.
I mean, I can repeat the talking point that they mentioned at the end, but I mean, I don't have any special knowledge either.
Yeah, anyway, let's maybe think about it later. And
Yeah,
Michael,
yeah,
what do you want to
yeah.
say?
I'm still thinking along the line of, like the role of metacognition in the study of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in the sense that if we think about introspection, which is a commonly used tool,
Mm.
this is what we may describe as at least one type of metacognitive processes. Um, do we, is there a way to study consciousness beyond introspection? I know like IIT has some way to do it if you
Hmm.
are a big believer in the series. But if you don't have like a firm theoretical leaning, then it would seem almost that introspection and to some extent the report of that may be sort of practically the only way to do
Mm. Then what do you think? How do you think about the no report paradigm like thing?
it. No report paradigm, I think you have to establish some kind of report first, and then you
Yeah.
can do no report paradigm. The question, I think it's true that just because that you have to use it doesn't mean that, there's no subtlety or variability in the introspection and the context of the introspection, which may all lead to differences. And in this case, I'm still stuck on the idea that this fourth choice may not fully capture the richness, which they also
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. They mentioned. I think they are separate questions. Whether or not uh, self-report is one question. I mean, and first choice is the other question, which they mentioned in the discussion. I think you are more emphasizing the part of self-report, whether or not we can rely on this self-introspective thing to study consciousness. And to me, it's a bit hard to imagine you have some subjective experience, but you completely cannot report it or can
Uh,
say can well it's self-conflict. It's you have some experience but you cannot be aware of it. Is this possible? No, I don't think so.
I see what you mean. Yes, yes. But I guess there are different framework of how you report it.
Yes, yes.
And that seems to be where
Yeah,
the details and stuff
yeah, of
are.
course the way of reporting it plays a significant or important role there. But I think at least people should be able to report it to some extent, because they are aware of it.
Uh, a quick note, just quickly. I wonder, using their letter setup, the ring of letters, can you add additional bits and pieces to the signal detection theory? In the sense that, let's say, the letter P is like here, but the participants selected like here, so slightly to the adjacent to it. So they're incorrect in their reporting, and they report high confidence. But because it's very close to the actual correct location, their high confidence is more warranted. I wonder if there's a way to account for that, or have they already did it? I don't think they did it, right?
I don't think they did that. The say the level of error or
Yeah. Degree of
yeah,
error.
to what extent to what extent participants made an error. I don't think they analyzed that, but that will
Yeah.
be very interesting, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm, no, I couldn't find. I think
Yeah, I
the
don't seem to.
exploratory analysis is not about that. Yeah, yeah. Mm,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
maybe if you do that, there is no difference
yeah.
in parameters.
Well, it's. But I have to say this is related to the radicality of experience, which I don't really like. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm, there are many potential factors in which can influence the fine position of a letter. So people might be very confident in a position they report, but it's well actually not very radical. Um, this is possible, but since yeah, in that way, I think if meta the metacognition is strong, the metacognitive ability is high, I think this it can reflect consciousness, conscious experience to me. Um, well, does it make any sense? I mean, the experience can be radical, but it's
Like
also very conscious. Yeah.
I get it, I get it, but it's difficult to test this kind of experiment without thinking about verticality, especially given all signal detection stuff, which sort of requires some kind of like criteria.
Yeah.
I mean, to separate the FA from the correct.
If we, it's not about criteria. It's about the the distinction between hit and false alarm. There
Ah,
must
yes,
be a
yes, yes, that's right.
not threshold, a reference, external reference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm, but maybe we can, yeah, we can analyze the raw confidence at each distance. So the correct answer, the correct position has a distance of 0, whereas the next one has
Ah,
a distance of 1, and then 2,
right,
3, 4, and we
right.
can analyze the position, the confidence at each position, at each distance. Mm, it might reveal something or might not. I'm not sure. This is an empirical question. Yeah.
Ah,
Mm,
there any other things that we want to discuss?
I have a detail. I think it's very detailed point in this paper. So I mentioned it as a comment. Um, they have two conditions: iconic memory and working memory. But actually, a previous study from Victor Lamon's group, I think they cited this paper, but very late in the discussion section. It's the fifth. No, uh, sorry, Sally. Yeah, 47. Sally. Sorry, I can't pronounce it. It's,
Ah,
yeah, this one.
oh,
This paper actually argued for three types of memory: iconic memory, and there is a fragile memory between the iconic memory and working memory. And this study, for some reason, combined the iconic memory
mm,
and fragile memory, which they explicitly said so in their introduction. And I couldn't find it, but they mentioned fragile and iconic. Yeah. So I'm actually not sure why they did that and what potential influence it might cause. So I just want to bring this out for the audience on YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I do have like a naive question because I'm so poorly trained in cognition. Um, I I wonder, so we are considering like a piece of information as a single point going through process A, iconic memory, and then process B, working memory, and then maybe some other processes, right? Is it possible to instead consider that as some kind of wave-like thing that's exists to a different extent in across different kind of memories?
So
Is-
what is like a wave?
Instead of consider this piece of information
Uh-huh.
as a wave that can coexist across both the working memory and the iconic
Ye- uh, by wave, you mean they have ups and downs?
memory. No, I'm more thinking about like a probability distribution. But
So it's
then I'm
like
not
a
sure if it
flow.
makes sense here. Let me think through it. So could a piece of memory for like a portion of it or some aspect of it exist in the iconic, while other aspects exist in the working
Um, it's quite inconsistent with other studies or argument, I
Okay.
will say. Usually, the flow of information through different types of memory is described as a flow in which information keep decreasing, keep losing.
Mm, mm,
And there are different mechanisms or filters, maybe attention, maybe other cognitive functions to select the information, keep some and abandon some. It's it's a bit weird to say some information is not in the iconic memory, but exists in the working memory. Mm,
When Mike talk about wave, are you thinking in the way of quantum entanglement?
I'm thinking
yeah,
something like that, but I'm not sure if it
yeah.
makes sense here. It may not. It's a very immature thought, so
In terms of report, it's possible, I will say. Something might be hard to report under the iconic memory condition, but be able to report in the working memory condition. That's possible. And I'm not familiar with quantum cognition, but I guess it can be explained by
uh,
probability distributions. Yeah.
ye- um, okay, I will try one more time. Maybe it still doesn't make sense. But like, let's could um could iconic there's one piece of information. It's in
Yeah.
iconic memory. There's also a piece of information. It's in the working memory. These two pieces of information are either very similar or exactly the same. Can something like that happen?
By piece of memory, piece of information, you mean all the information or just a part of it?
A part of what exactly? Like so if we think of our experience with a chair as as whole information. So you are saying that maybe our tactile experience of it is part of it, our visual experience is part of it, and these information go to separate places, something like that.
I mean, if you say the piece, but by the piece of information, you mean all the information in those memories. That means no information is lost from iconic memory to working memory.
Can something like that happen? Like for selective memory that there is no loss?
I think it can happen if there is only one letter. For sure, it happens. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's
So okay, if you stare at a letter, you have a
okay,
memory, working memory. You have this R in your working memory. It's
yeah,
also in your iconic memory because you were looking at it.
yeah,
Okay, right,
it
I see.
it could happen. Yeah.
Hmm.
But if it's only a part of memory, a part of the information, like the chair, and if you are, we see a chair. I mean, the stimulus is a chair, and we see that chair, but you are interested in the leg of one leg of the chair in particular. That I think it can also happen. Yeah, if we happen
Okay.
to pay attention the to that leg of chair. Yeah,
Right. We go back to attention.
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I'm I'm wondering, can we because working memory, the definition of working memory is based on we can retrieve it, right? And iconic memory is also based on some property that what we can do with the memory. Then if we say iconic memory and working memory are kind of repository that holding this memory, that's sound a bit weird because we go back to the definition of this memory, we base on what we can do with this memory, isn't it?
Mm,
Yeah, so you are saying to answer the question in the task,
Oh,
although the conditions is it's about iconic memory, we still need to use our working memory to answer to complete the task. Is that what you mean?
if one information, um, can can be retrieved and used to answer some question, then we can broadly define it as a working memory. But if
Yeah.
it satisfies some property of iconic memory, but not working memory, then we say, oh, it is kind of a iconic memory. I think
Uh,
that's my understanding, rather than thinking about we have two like a bottle that processing information, but if the property of
yeah.
information defined, well, what is it?
Yeah, I think the definitions of those memories are not um, exclusive or very, um,
Kind of overlapping.
yeah, kind of overlapping. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's my feeling.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah. I mean, some years ago, when people were talking about iconic memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory, this is m more intuitive, I think. We know it is defined. They are defined based on time, short-term memory and long-term memory. But now, more people are talking about working memory. Mm, this, well, mm, anyway, I think, yeah, it's hard to say. It's indeed there are some overlaps between memories.
Mm.
Mm,
yeah, if it's entirely created based on the experimental task that we used, then there may be a lot more kind of memory, right? You mentioned that there's a fragile memory between
yeah.
the iconic and working. So if the task demands it and it doesn't show property that previously have been discovered, then you can have more different kind of memories.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess, well, for us, we are studying consciousness, and um, if we, no, probably it's not the best choice. I mean, if we purely focus on the consciousness part, but we cannot ignore the role of memory. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, I mean, especially in things like the experience with time, I
yeah.
would imagine memory has to play some kind of role, right?
Mm.
Sure. Uh,
Right. Mm, uh, do we have any other comments?
Okay.
well,
I
if there, oh, do you have
mm,
one?
no, I just have overall comment. I think the
Hmm.
format of register report is actually easier to read. Yeah, because everything is settled before the results, and then I mean, without results, we can understand the design and logic, and then we see the results. Okay, it's easier to read for to me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, also the exploratory part is clearly specified, so we know what's important and what's not. So we can
Yeah,
make
yeah,
choices.
yeah,
Also, the diagram of a hypothesis, and they list every interpretation.
Hmm.
yeah.
That's great. I think we can take this
Yeah,
format to our.
I think we can learn something I mean, from this study, this
Hmm.
paper. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
All right, if that's it, then that will be the end of this week's Journal Club. We will see you in the future then. Bye bye.
Thank you.